Oh, hello. This is Dave Little from Things I Thought About Today, and you are listening to Nursery, a podcast from Ohio's creative voice. But you knew that, right?
It's cold in this neck of Ohio tonight, and the style is right for a sad winter song. I feel lost like a speck in a pile out of sight, and though I try with all might, I just don't feel that strong. As we walk through a field trekking on snowy dirt, my eyes start to hurt trying to see a smile, and we talk about fears making our story short. You are scared to get shot, your bravery goes for miles, and there's more miles to go as we walk the train tracks. I think we lost the rain back in the woods we just hiked, and the store signs can glow as you walk sidewalk cracks. I think we lost the town back trading street lamps for kites. The nursery and all of the trees crossed over the dark, and some old parking lots hold my whimpering thoughts, and I'm on the next train. You and me, can't you see what this means? In the light of a torch, realize nothing is forced, nothing is forced.
Hi guys, welcome to Nursery, a podcast from Ohio's creative voice. We've got this new thing called rock and roll radio. It came out just recently, and there's a band that started playing it, and they're called Sam Goodwill. I have with me right now Sam from the band. Tell them what you are and who you do.
I'm Sam. I play music, I sing, I write songs.
And Sam Goodwill, can I give my perception of them for the listeners? Yeah. I been playing in a band called Third Class with my two friends and family for a long time, and I first met you at a church called the First, I'm going to get this wrong, I can't remember. Well, it's a church in New Waterford, Ohio. Any listeners who went to Crestview schools or live in Columbiana County have probably heard of New Waterford, small town. And it was a thing called Punk Rock Prom that was being run by basically the Graham brothers in some regard, who are best known for the drums, Cascading Slopes, Campfire Kids, etc. And I saw you playing in, I guess what could be called like a hard rock or metal act. What was the name of that band?
It was called Light Falling Down.
Light Falling Down. And so me and my friends and brothers Jack and Pappy, we were sitting there getting ready to play our set, and Light Falling Down comes on, and Sam is on drums. And they just rock out so hard. We're trying to change our set list up and scramble at the last minute and be like, okay, we got to follow them, start with our loudest stuff, because we're not loud, or we're at least not heavy. And you were just rocking out. It looked like the drum set was going to clatter down in front of you. And then with that same night, we went and played a set at something called Nouveau Rock Festival at Cedars, which later, through the veins of New Waterford and Youngstown, we ended up through the same avenue, working together a lot and playing shows. And it seems like basically the next year, would it be 2004 or 5 that Sam Goodwill started?
I think that's right, yeah.
Okay. And what would you tell listeners, as far as the genre of Sam Goodwill?
I don't know. That's like the hardest question. I don't know.
It's wild. It's wild is what it is.
It's rhythmic, as is all music types. That doesn't help. It's rock. It's synthy. It's, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry.
It's hard. No, don't apologize, because my band's a lot different from yours, but we have some common threads in that the way we describe it only checks out to musicians. You know, like if you say Sam Goodwill is a band that is built on rhythm,
Okay.
that works, right? That's a good way to say it, but there should be this like little like tagline that works for like the real world, and I can't figure that out.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a good thing.
I think so. It's always just like the generic rock and roll. I play rock and roll.
It is. It's this
But
new
to-
thing called rock and roll.
To music friends, it's like that doesn't really register to them. It's like, well, what do you mean? Like the Strokes, or like, you know, like what do you mean?
And you don't want to be that pretentious guy who's like, well, you just have to hear and then you'll know, man. You want to give them a little like taste, but it's hard to describe. And I've seen sets where it's like elaborate. There's like two percussionists, a backing track, another vocalist, guitar, you on keys or guitar, lead vocals, obviously. And then I've seen where it's just you and a drummer, or I've seen just you. So it's nice because you have versatility. So that makes it even harder to describe.
Yeah, it depends on at what year you caught us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And in my head, it's all one thing. Like, I know there were different members, and I know that it's a bit of a Mountain Goats like setup where you're the main dude and the cast rotates once in a while. But like in my head, it's always been the same like soul in there, you know. And I think it's important for this area to have a band. There's no other band anywhere near sounding like you in Youngstown, so that's really good. So I guess speaking of you in a cultural context, what do you personally think about Ohio?
Ohio?
Yeah, what do you like? What do you dislike?
First thing that comes to mind is I like where we are in Ohio, in proximity to a lot of like Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Chicago, New York, Columbus. You know, like Philadelphia. All those things. It's really that mixed with like a low cost of living, which kind of sounds like a backhanded compliment, but I think it's perfect for artists, musicians, whatever, especially ones who want to travel and get out there a little bit. It's I like the proximity, and it's amazing how much ground you can cover in a weekend or a week, because if we lived in, I don't know, I've heard like on the West Coast, or, you know, the further you get west, it's major cities or something like that, they get like few and far between.
Yeah, and more spread out.
Yeah,
everything. Pittsburgh's a good example of how it's close and tight, like
Right.
New York.
So if I was in a band in a different part of the country, it might not have worked. You know.
Yeah. Well, okay, that brings me to what I wanted to talk to you about next. Like, why are we doing this, man? Like, all musicians in this area, like, I don't feel negative very many days, but there's some where I have my bad days, and it's probably very true that you might not be doing this if you're in a, like, quote, bigger city, or in a, like, more spread out, where you couldn't get to more places you wanted to be. But, like, what are we doing, man? Like,
there are a lot of facets to it. I'm finding there's the. Do you want me to hold it?
yeah, if you'd
Okay.
like.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it. In fact, keep holding it, because I'm so loud in here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the starting, like the songwriting, like parts, just experimentation, like just fascinating, you know, like seeing what works. That is like always been like an outlet for me. So it makes me feel fulfilled. So that's why I do that part of it, you know.
Sure.
Playing shows, getting out there is just like fun. There's that element of it. There's like sort of a camaraderie that forms with like the guys you are playing with, and I'm sure that's like, I wonder what that's like for, like, because you guys have been, now that I'm thinking of it, you guys have been together for a long time. And are you exclusively with those two? Like, have you ever done anything with other people?
I mean, other than if someone asked me to sit in,
Right.
I've never done anything as third class with anyone else.
Okay.
And I do lots of solo as well, but yeah, I'm just with them. So camaraderie, sure.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
And that's like, in my case, it's like almost opposite, where almost every 2 years or so I'm with a different person or group of people. Thankfully, I'm still with the guys I've been with for the past couple years. But anyway, yeah, there's that part of it. And there's like the traveling outward, like doing more than just the local shows. That's kind of goes more in like, I'm fascinated with, well, what happens when we do this? Like, what happens when we do this many times? And then it's like, okay, well, I found out that that's fun to do that. And when we go to that place, there's a good response. So like, let's go again and let's try another city. So it's kind of like this experiment, you know, from start to finish, of just like, let's try something, see what happens. If we like it, try some more, you know what I mean? Like, let it evolve. That's
cool.
Pretty much it.
Well, now, so on that side, like, people tend to talk about it like, hey, the crowd seems to respond correctly. They get something out of it and stuff. And you don't know a lot of what's going on in their head, so you tend to take it from the side of like your mind. But it's my like strong belief that like you will never know what Sam Goodwill really sounds like. You're too close to it. And I'll never know what third class sounds like. And everybody we know, they just don't know. They just don't know. They'll never know.
Okay.
The closest I've got is like, one time I was walking down the basement at my mom's house, and my brother Steve, who is also a musician, was playing back a demo of one of our songs, and I heard it through the wall, and I didn't know it was us. And I was like, "Who's this?" And I really liked it, and that's the closest I've ever come. You know, like, and so that felt good. It affirmed that. Oh, okay. I hope I'm doing something that I like, which is hard enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. You go to write a loud song, and it turns out slow and love song. You go to write an angry song, you know, it turns out like a ballad. You go to write a ballad, it's a punk song.
Yeah.
It's hard. But what I'm getting at is, what do you think, to the best of your knowledge, who are you in other people's eyes? When you're touring, when you're here, what are they getting out of it?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I'd have to think about that for a sec. I hope they're just seeing what's actually happening, which is like just a person or a group of people doing something they really like. So as a question, as a person or as a, or like,
I guess
what they
I mean,
hear
like,
when they hear us?
if you can, I mean, it's hard to simplify, but like, maybe like, what feelings what is your overall, like, what has every crowd had in common when they've seen you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what would you say your music makes other people feel if you had to guess? It doesn't have to be a simple answer. I know that's a hard question, but what would you say people feel even when they first hear you? Is it like sadness? Are they sad songs? Or is it like, are they like, hey, this song, the instrumentation and the rhythm kind of makes me tap my foot, and then it kind of gets me into a groove, and it makes them more like physically? Or is it like, or are they like, this really makes me happy, I get bouncy and I love, you know, like what? Because your songs have this nice mixture where like there's some sad, there's some happy, there's this, there's that, there's some funk sometimes, there's some rock and roll all over the place, and there's some insane rhythms followed by some minimalism. You know, it's everywhere. So like, is chaos what people get out of you? Is in a good way, or is it more like, I've gone to, you guys have been in York, PA, you've been in Youngstown, Ohio, you've been in Buffalo, New York. Is there anything that those three crowds saw that shares something that you know? I know you don't go out and survey everybody, but
those are what was it? York, Buffalo, and what else?
Youngstown. Yeah.
Those are places that, especially Youngstown, but like we tend to get a good response. So there are places that we don't get as good responses.
Okay.
But yeah, there are definitely chaotic elements. There are soft, pretty moments. Like, yeah, just what you're saying. When I see a band that I like, it kind of, no matter the genre, if it's like the Dirty Projectors at like a festival in this great theater, or Phil Elverum playing in my living room, you know, like it's not really like adjective specific.
Yeah.
It's like I felt like I experienced something and it did something inside of me that I really liked, and maybe I can't define it.
And you can't quite recognize it, but you know it's good.
Right.
Well, that's a good answer, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not saying that that's what people feel when they see us.
but
that's
if it's
what
a
I
good
hope to
show,
communicate.
that's
I
what
hope.
you think.
I
Yeah.
hope.
Maybe one adjective. The only adjective I feel is fair for you guys is like maybe intense.
Okay.
And like the reason I say that is because I had somebody I knew who did kind of a project where she did art prints, and they were like the same thing in different colors over and over again, and it was awesome. I like when people do stuff like that, and it's cool. But I had somebody comment to me like, hey, what do you think about these prints? They were kind of something like that. Remember that, I don't know who did it, but remember Love, that one that was just LOVE in a square, and it was just in lots of different colors? It was kind of like that.
Okay.
And I had somebody in my family say, hey, Lee, what do you think of this? And I was like, it's good. And they were like, yeah, but don't you think that all art should have a little bit of an intense side to make it good? And I was like, interesting. I never thought about it. And they said, you know, I don't think it's bad, but shouldn't there be a struggle in it, or shouldn't there be an intense side? And it's like, that's a really good point. And that's what I think Sam Goodwill is.
Okay.
I think like whether you set out to write happy, sad, whatever, there's a little bit of intensity that's always like, you know, pulling at you guys, and that I think that's what keeps, in my head as a fan, that's what keeps the band intact. Is that there's always, it's not like there's anger all the time. It's not like there's this dark in it. I don't think of you guys as necessarily like super dark either. Definitely don't think of you guys as like Hallmarky at all. But whatever it is, finding that balance.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to compare you to other bands. I'm not going to say like I don't even mean that. I just mean like, yeah, there's intensity that's always slightly pulling at the heartstrings that I think keeps Sam Goodwill where you might hear and you know it's you.
Yeah.
So what do you think then, if intensity is there, if you agree with me on that, like spiritually, as an Ohioan, as a musician, what do you feel when you're performing?
Spiritually.
Yeah, if anything.
What I feel, there's definitely a spectrum of, you know, it's not the same time. It's not the same thing every night. It might not even be the same ballpark every night. You know, like,
Sure.
I sometimes feel completely like nervous and not worthy of the show I'm playing.
Yeah.
And other times I feel like completely comfortable, and sometimes I'll be singing and I'll be thinking about something completely unrelated, and that sucks, because you know, so I get a little flighty. But the feeling in a spiritual sense, or just what am I feeling, there are moments of euphoria, there are moments of I mean, sometimes like there are lyrics I have that all of them mean something to me, but some of them come to me at specific times. Like, for example, there's a song that has a couple of lyrics leading up to a line that says, never underestimate the power of a broken heart.
And what's the title of that song?
Monument.
Explanation. alive. You're gonna have to live.
That lyric and the group of lyrics that like kind of lead up to that are specifically struck me one time. Like I didn't sit down and think of them. I literally just thought of them one day, verbatim, you know. And it was around the time of a friend of mine had committed suicide, and it was like stirring up a lot of really crazy emotions, like a lot of stuff that I didn't know I had in me. And that line and that song essentially came out of it. So a lot of times when I remember when we were first playing that, it's a pretty intense part of the song when that line happens. There are times where I've felt like overcome with intense sadness or just chills. Like I've come close to passing out, like just because it's like very overwhelming. And so I felt connected to that person. I think maybe just a tribute to her. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. I guess
that's interesting. Okay. I mean, I'm glad. Thanks for giving me like a more honed in example. That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Because I know that some people say that artists only have like a smaller range of subjects they write about. And some people claim that you're just writing the same song or poem over and over your whole life. Mm-hmm. And I feel that way a little. And like, if there's like, I'm not going to say that all your songs are about someone who commits suicide, obviously, but if there's if there's like an intention for you to like pay tribute in your songs and to feel for other people when you're writing, like that kind of, to me, explains what I see on stage when I see you. You know, like I see you going through those euphoric moments. I can tell when that's happening. And it's, maybe I don't know exactly which thing is what, but I know, and that's why I ask you spiritually what happens.
Right. And it's actually surprising too, because the first tour I did with Richie and Bob, that particular part, we end the set with that song, and that we sort of amplify that line at the very, very end. The guys kind of have a similar sort of, at least they used to when they first were playing it. They would sort of talk about how, like, at the end there was this very, I don't remember exactly the word, but anyway, yeah, they would have
Yeah.
a similar connection or some sort of similar intense emotional, spiritual experience in that particular song as well. That part, which I found was surprising because I don't even know if they know what that song's about or
Yeah.
what's happening. It's just the sentiment involved. The song was built around a sentiment. It's not about a specific person or
Sure.
specific thing. It's
Sure.
like, yeah. So that was interesting, I thought.
I like that. I mean, songs, what they're about can change per person, but the few moments when I've had somebody come up to me and say, I had a friend or a family member who I lost and this song meant something,
Okay.
like I'll be like, cool. I was like, now that song's about that to me too.
Yeah.
and so like, it doesn't have to be pinned down to a T for sure. So, and like, whatever emotion you were feeling to whomever it was you were making tribute, your bandmates probably picked up on some inkling of that feeling
They
and
must have,
share
yeah,
something.
something,
And so I guess like then to get in, I don't really like looking too much at the inner workings as to how songs were written because that ruins them for everybody. And like, and I don't look like being like, what's the behind the scenes, Sam? Like, whatever. Like, if people like it, let's do a plug for a second. Like, tell them where to go to hear Sam Goodwill.
I guess samgoodwill.com. I think everything kind of can branch out from there.
And then tell them, if you want to, you have some stuff on the horizon. Can you give me and the listeners a general idea for fans of Sam Goodwill who are listening?
Yeah, this might be a longer answer than you thought.
Good.
Okay, well, the plan is to have like a release done in 3 parts. And the first part is, I'd like to have it done by the end of the year, but I'm really not trying to set a deadline because I want it to just, when it's done, that's when it'll come out. And then the subsequent releases will, is he okay?
Yeah.
Okay. will happen, like whenever they're done. But they will all like lead up to, first EP will be more of a stripped down thing. I'm going to call on some like guest people that I've always wanted to work with, but have never had an excuse to. I'm socially awkward enough that I can't just be like, hey, you want to come over and play music? I have to have a catalyst. So that's the thing that's going to happen on it. And it'll basically be like what I will be doing in a stripped down sort of solo set. And I wanted to be able to like tour solo and with the band. And so when I'm touring solo, this will be something that represents, like my solo set will be represented. Like you can take something home. So if you see me like solo and it's like, oh, I was into that. And then I have like the album history for sale, which is a fully fleshed out thing. If your first impression of me, maybe it's a little misleading. Anyway, that's too long of an answer, but
No, not at all. That's a good answer. If the soft stuff is what wins people over, if they see you on a solo leg of a tour,
Right.
and then they like it enough, they'll probably pursue your album history that has a full band sound.
yeah. But the first EP is going to happen. I'm going to record it on a my Tascam Porta Studio cassette thing, 4-track, sort of inspired by Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska. So I want to do that. I want it to have that really low fidelity sort of sound, but play with the low fidelity sound.
Yeah.
Have fun with it. See what I don't know what that's going to sound like.
That'll be good for you. I've never heard you like that. That's exciting to me.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then like the next one, I'm going to like record it on my 4-track reel-to-reel, which is a little bit thicker tape, a little bit more of a sonic spectrum, still minimal. And then the third one will be a fully fleshed out, full band, like Richie and Bob, and whoever is involved. No guests, just like the band you see live, recording the songs that were on the previous EPs in a fully fleshed out form.
Oh, great. Okay,
Yeah.
good. I see. So it really will be a nice, like, nice for fans. Like, if they hear one and they like it, they get another version down the line if they keep following the
Yeah.
band. Yeah, that's great. Great.
Thank you. That's the
Yeah.
idea now. It is open for evolution.
Sure.
So there might be songs that are on the EPs that aren't on the full length, but
Sure.
that's the idea.
Well, good. I mean, it's good to know what fans in some version of what you just said they can expect
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
watch samgoodwill.com and see what's up and stuff like that. And then one more plug and we'll get back to just talking. my band Third Class used for half of our recent Hymns from Some Small Town album. We used Historian Recording Company. That's you again, and that's what you use to record Sam Goodwill for the most part, if not exclusively. Do you want to say anything about like studio life or where people can go to find that if they're interested in recording?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you already told me like your methods in describing what you're going to do with the EP.
Yeah.
But like, do you like being a studio guy aside from a musician?
Well, yeah, no, that's kind of like the day job. But it's more like we've talked about before. It's like more with like film sound and sound design. And
That's right.
things like that. I like recording bands, but only when it's like you.
Yeah.
Like with like friends. In that, if I was recording somebody I didn't really know and they were expecting like a studio experience, I don't know like if that would work. They might be underwhelmed.
Okay.
Okay,
that's something to take note of.
Yeah.
So if people are listening and they want to peruse, what's the website?
I guess you can go to historianrec.co.
Yeah, but keep in mind, like Sam said, this isn't really a call out to the general public. This is more like if you do film work, if you do like little things where you're looking for some sounds in the background and some cool like studio, touches, that's your thing more, right? Yeah, and otherwise it's more like if you're a Youngstown band out there, then you're looking to lay down a full length or an EP or something, you probably have to, for a while, get a good feel for each other before it ever happened, and you probably have to really get to know. So people who are listening because Sam's on here, you get that. But people who are just randomly just coming upon this podcast, you might not even be from Ohio, which I totally encourage. Start with samgoodwill.com. Go there, listen to the music, see what we're talking about, see what somebody from Ohio who lives in Youngstown in his own studio sounds like on this album, and see how ridiculously like impressively chaotic and elaborate it can get, and see how minimal and like ballad oriented and heartfelt it can get. There's a range here with this band, and that's why I'm interviewing him. Just to pull out and acknowledge the audience for a second.
Absolutely, yeah. No, and one thing to add about the historian thing is really only check it out really we do this thing called historian sessions where we have...
there's the reason.
We have it's mainly for touring bands that are passing through, and a lot of times they have a day off, so they come, we throw a little show or not. Sometimes it's just a taping, but we record a song or two or a whole set, and we put a pretty nice video up of them and a pretty decent recording of them up so they can use it for promo, stuff like that. So check those out. There's about 10 or something of those now, and they're all great.
I've seen a couple, and they're all, anyone who wants to check those out, go see those, because you might just end up inadvertently becoming a fan. Curtains was one I really liked.
Yeah, we did, like I said, Mount Erie, we did Viking Moses, Spen King, And
that's associated with, Viking Moses is associated with what record label?
The Epiphysis Foundation.
I wanted to mention that just because.
It may even change. He's been doing a lot of revamping, so it might change to like Epipho or something else altogether.
Wow. Okay.
But right now it is the Epiphysis Foundation.
Okay. So it's definitely worth mentioning Viking Moses as like an associate.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Let's get out of music then. Why don't we talk about, like, if that is our jumping off point, great, but why don't we talk about like who you are as an Ohioan, like who's your family? Like, do you consider yourself like out of place as an artist in Ohio?
No. I feel like I'm a little reclusive. Like the older I get more shut off. No, I don't know. I guess now that I'm in my 30s, I kind of found my place within myself. Like I'm pretty comfortable. Like I said, like I really like being from here, in the sense that like it's pretty conducive to the lifestyle that I lead as an artist, as a musician, whatever.
That's refreshing to hear that somebody would refer to Ohio as something that actually lent them something that paralleled their artistry instead of something that stopped it in its tracks. Some people talk about Ohio that way. A lot of people do, and
so weird.
And it's not the case. It's lots of pretty scenery and small town low cost. You can really be an artist easy here.
And
It's just that you can't be gigantic and famous here.
You're not going to get discovered here.
Yeah.
But, hey.
Jeremy, no biting. Buddy, no biting.
He was just biting my shirt, for those of you listening.
He was biting he ripped his arm off. Buddy.
I'll stop provoking.
It's okay.
I forgot what we were talking.
Yeah, what were we saying?
You're not going to get. I don't.
Yeah,
you're not like. Don't think if you only play in Youngstown, you're going to like get discovered for sure. I'm not even sure how that getting discovered works anymore. But,
really, there is no way it works.
I don't know if that's even a thing.
Yeah. And it sounds to me like you're not concerned with that, and that's good. What does your family think of you as a musician and artist?
I think that they're incredibly supportive now. I can hold this if you want to. they're I think, yeah, they're supportive. When I was younger, I think there was probably like, is this just a phase? You know, with all that stuff. But like, it's kind of, I don't know. The fact that I've been doing it for as long as I have, everyone's kind of on board at this point, and yeah, it's yeah, extremely supportive, actually. You know, yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. And so does that mean that people, when you say just a phase, were they like, I hope this is just a phase? Or were they like,
Maybe.
hey, maybe this is just a phase, let's not glom on just yet?
Maybe.
So it wasn't, if you say maybe, that must mean that nobody was like, you can't be a music. Nobody sat you down and said, you can't do this.
Maybe when I was like 14 years old,
Okay.
like going back that far, there was like disputes with like, yeah, how I spent my time. Because I'm like a 14-year-old trying to go play shows at, I don't know, like Knights of Columbus. Like just,
Totally.
like it's just like, no, do your homework. Like, don't, you know. So like just that element of it, like it might not have been the most responsible thing to do. So just, that's pretty proper parenting.
Sure.
But-
That
but
doesn't
yeah.
sound like somebody said you were no good or you weren't supposed to. Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, as I gotten older and sort of like, just, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like I said, it's pretty much accepted now.
That's nice. And then physically, the land in Ohio, rural Ohio, do you find it like stunning still after all these years? Do you like it, or do you ever like it? Or?
I like it. I was
Yeah.
gonna say too, like this time of year specifically is always been. I was born around this time of year, so I don't know if that ties into it. But I've always like, as soon as the weather starts cooling down from summertime into this like late August, September, fall season, I'm particularly inspired by it. Like it's kind of like, yeah, a very peaceful time. Yeah, I guess.
What do you think? I touched on spirituality through music, but religiously, who are you now, and who were you when you were growing up?
Okay.
If you like to answer, you
Yeah,
can keep
that-
it private
that's-
if you want. It's totally okay.
It is, yeah. It's a big part of my life. So I can talk about it. It is like something I've been, the last couple years, I've been kind of really appreciating how personal it is. Like specifically, like it's, yeah, it's dealing with matters of like where you go when you die, and like how, like, for example, if you are on your deathbed, no matter who's around you, no matter what, like, you're still alone, you know, like you're like if you're moments away from death, you're the only one in the room that's moments away from death, and you're the only one that has to like have made peace with what you believe is going to happen when you die. So it's like extremely personal in that moment. It's extremely intimate moment, and yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's anyone else's business. That's not like me telling you none of your business.
No, that's okay.
I'm just
Even
saying,
if you
like,
were, it's okay.
it's just like I've been like discovering how personal it is, and there's really like kind of thinking about it on that level. It's yeah, it's deeply personal. It's as personal as, yeah, being with someone on their deathbed and things like that. But I grew up, I think most people around here, I don't want to speak wrongly, but Catholic, grew up Catholic. When I was 16 or so, I started going to like a born again church, got super into it. Went to a Bible school after I graduated high school. Thought I was going to be a youth pastor. Now, I'd say fast forward. Now, over the past like year or two, I've been like trying to look at life and spirituality through a lens that isn't what I was born into or decided when I was 16 years old. It's interesting to like look at these questions that you've thought you had answers for your whole life.
Yeah.
Through a lens of like, just sort of, not through the lens of like, Christ died for you on the cross, or not through the lens of like whatever you were told when you were growing up, like to actually just like step outside of that, look through it through another lens, or just no lens at all, and start experiencing life like that. And when those questions come up that you thought you had an answer to your whole life, it's really interesting when you have to like, oh, this is what I would have used to have said to that circumstance, but now, no, that doesn't actually make sense. I guess right now I'm more of a agnostic, secularist, whatever you would call that. But I also recognize that like it's such a complicated and personal thing that will likely change and evolve into something else. But yeah.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I think sometimes when people end up sticking to a more traditional religion like Catholicism when they're young, then they have a phase that isn't to be brushed off, that goes from their 20s till 50s maybe, where they are more loose. And then I don't think in their 50s they go back, but like to the strictness of just having an answer and not thinking anything else.
Right.
But I do think that they see like, oh, you know what, to have these convictions in a sense of like answering quickly and comforting yourself, even if you know it's only a possibility, but speaking of it as if it's concrete fact is okay.
Right.
You know, like between 20 and 40 or 50, 40s and 50s, we think it's not okay to state things like they're facts sometimes. We're like, hey, what do I know? What do I know? But then when you get older again, you're like, well, you know that I'm saying it under that context. I can be like to the point and not have people think that I am a know-it-all. You know, and I'm not predicting anything about you or me. I'm just saying like this is a phase of like thinking that we have to make sure everyone knows we know it's a matter of opinion. You know what I mean?
I totally agree. Yeah. I think it's important to maybe go through that. Absolutely.
Very important. No less important than the later or the former.
Yeah, I think that like religion in general is kind of like maybe from the dawn of man, like a definition for the undefinable. You know, like so it's like we're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's really strange. Like there's the Neutral Milk Hotel line that like is amazing. It's just like how strange it is to be anything at all.
Yes.
And it's just like the truth is that we're here right now. We're alive. You and I were actually born around the same time to be alive. Yeah. Right now in the grand scheme of things, look back 1,000 years, look back 10,000 years. It's crazy that we're both alive right now. You know what I mean?
It is insane.
Yeah, and it's just, that's truth. That's one thing that is unarguable, you know, like we're alive right now. So
yeah, it's kind of cool to be taken from like a artistic element that might be taken lightly at some points into a realm of like that thing where you kind of look at your hand and you're like, whoa, where am I? Because that's real. That happens to a lot of people. And if it doesn't happen to you, you're not thinking hard enough. It should happen to you. You should be amazed to be anything at all at some point. Not all the time. That'll mess you up.
Right.
But you should have those phases maybe once in a while where you just kind of like look at everything and don't really realize that you're even using your own eyes and why that even, and you can spiral.
Yeah.
That you should have those feelings once in a while. But I saw, it was weird. I don't think it was quite the same line. It might have been. But I saw Stephen Colbert on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with Jerry Seinfeld, and he quoted Neutral Milk.
Oh, shit.
And I don't know what he said. I don't know if it was in anywhere near the realm you just said, but it was neat to be thrown, just like you and me were now, from like an artistic context, in that case, comedy, to like this deep context immediately. And it was funny because when he said it, Jerry just blew him off. It was funny. It was like, that's exactly what life is. You need those people that are like, what does it all mean, man? And like, you get real for real. It's not a hippy dippy thing. It's like, really, what does it all mean? But then you need those people like Jerry Seinfeld to be like, shut up for a while and just live.
Right. No, absolutely.
So it was really cool to watch that. It was seriously within like 10 seconds that this all happened.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. So it's like, that's what I want this podcast to be. Just like a series of feelings like that. And I, by the way, I appreciate you gave me some advice to maybe contact people that just did art and did music and stuff and have them send in like a soundbite or send in a story. And I really liked that you suggested that. I got a couple people just from other podcasts that like, they're not even Ohio associated, but they sound something like this one. So I got them to do that little, hi, I'm this from this you're listening to. And I was excited. So thanks for like telling me. And I'm working on Why, that band from Cincinnati. Trying to get that guy to send me a story about Ohio, hopefully, because you said he has a kind of plethora of things that are Ohio-based, obviously, if he has a podcast and
The Wandering Wolf.
Yeah. What's it called?
The Wandering Wolf.
The Wandering Wolf. Yeah, I just got to get in contact with that. But yeah, this whole podcast is just about trying to get that feeling between what's it all mean, man, and oh, shut up and just have fun and listen to music. So yeah, you're a good person to talk to walk that tightrope. So I guess, is there anything you want to add? Is there anything I didn't ask you that you're excited to answer that I skipped because I'm absent-minded? Jeremy, you're in the background of all of these, and it's annoying to other people except me because I think you're cute.
No, I don't know. I think it's fine.
Can you say, look, Mom, we're on a podcast?
Look, Mom, we're on a podcast.
And is there anything you'd like to say to my mother if she is listening? To put you on the spot. Oh, he pulled it down. It's all good. He likes coffee. Okay. I think he has a little tiny espresso machine hidden somewhere in his little crate that we don't see, and he drinks a little thimble of espresso every day, and that's why he's all wild and chewing on the mic right now. But is there any words you'd like to impart to
your mom, any
listeners, or my mother, anybody?
Yeah, I don't know. Hi, Lee's mom, for one. Yeah, I don't know. No, I guess I just, to respond to what you just said, like, I think the balance between, like, what does it all mean and just shut up and live is, like, I like the balance of that. To me, the balance is, like, just both, the answer to both things is being present in this moment right now, like, appreciating the, the beauty in it, the shittiness in it, it could be a good day, it could be a bad day, whatever, but, like, right now, it's just, like, it's I don't know. It's just a lot of, it's very important to be present. And,
Definitely.
Yeah. And I don't mean that in like a, what's it all mean sort of way, or a shut up and just live sort of way. I just think that's like kind of the middle ground of both of those statements.
And that's a smart thing to say in this day and age, because in any day and age, whether people are listening to this years down the line, if it survives, or if they're listening just the day after it's put out, like, that's something that through time, let's not look at it through social media. Let's not look at it through, like, throughout time, that's been something people have been told to do over and over again because they have trouble with it. Mm-hmm. They are always worrying about the future and kicking themselves for the past. Yeah. And, like, it's useless. If you can let go of it, please do. Because, like, it's not going to do a thing for you. So, yeah, be present. And guys, thank you so much for listening. Sam, thanks a lot for being here. Again, I'm just going to say, guys, check out Sam Goodwill. Go online and just listen. SamGoodwill.com. So thanks, man.
Thank you.
Guys, thanks for listening, and I just want to mention our sponsors. We have, let's see. The Orange Avocado, a founding sponsor, of course. Raw, vegan, gluten-free desserts. Check them out on Facebook. And then the Speaking of Music show, an audio editorial program that dives deep behind the curtain, taking on questions about the new music of today, while rewinding back to yesteryear. Check them out on YouTube. Also, Timeless Shots, a photography company based out of Ohio. Check out what they do at timelessshots.com. Timeless Shots Photography, capturing moments for all occasions.